Hello, my friend. Welcome to your sleep story. My name is Stephen Dalton. I'm an Irish storyteller, and it's my great privilege to be the voice that you listen to as you go to sleep tonight. Tonight, we start an immersive new history-based series where my voice will accompany you for much longer than usual. And in tonight's story, you will travel back in time to the ancient Egyptian city of Alexandria. You will start your walk by the Mediterranean Sea. You will encounter the people of that place, and you will have deep human connection with these people of the past. It will eventually start to rain, and you will find rest and untold wisdom in the great Library of Alexandria. Here you will meet a kind stranger and sit and learn under the glow of the oil lamps before finding sleep, accompanied by the sound of rain. Okay, let's do the relaxation session now, which will take a few minutes before tonight's sleep story. I'm going to count down from 10 to 1, and as I do, allow yourself to let go more and more. 10. Feel the support of the bed beneath you, or the floor, or whatever you lie upon tonight. And beneath all of that, feel the support of the earth, our home, our constant support. And as you become aware of that constantness, see if it enables you to let go a little more now, to release. 9. You are safe. Allow my voice to be an anchor of safety tonight, to be a friend. Know that my voice will only ever take you to safe places. And as you become aware of that fact, surrender a little more now to this moment. This is an opportunity for real rest in a safe space. 8. Tune into your body now. See where you are still holding, whether it be tension or pain. Allow a gradual release to occur. Maybe it's in your feet, or maybe it's in your lower legs, or your thighs, or your belly, or your chest, or your hands, or your arms, or your shoulders and neck, or maybe you're like me and you hold tension in your face. Just release now, wherever it may be. 7. The day is done. Whatever has been, has been. Whatever will be, will be. So just allow yourself now to know that thoughts are a part of you, a part of being human. They will arrive, and they can go just as easily. So whatever thoughts you might be having about the past or the future, accept them for what they are. Thoughts. Don't fight them. See them arrive and let them go. Watch them float away like leaves on a moonlit river, or clouds passing in a starlit sky. 6. This is your moment. This is your time. You have nowhere to go now, nowhere to be, no obligations. So, enjoy that fact. Enjoy and luxuriate in that fact, and allow it to enable you to sink further and further towards deep, rejuvenating rest. 5. Peace lives within you. It is always there. It is your constant friend, just waiting to be found. See if you can feel that peace tonight. See if you can see it. And allow it to spread throughout you. 4. Perhaps allow a little gratitude now. Gratitude for this moment. Gratitude for the simple things. The shelter you have tonight. The ability to rest. 3. Begin to engage with your imagination now. Begin to feel like you are in a far-off land, in a far-off time, a land far away from all that you know. You are in the ancient port city of Alexandria. You are watching people working on ships, and the daily comings and goings of this great place, of these people from the past, allow your mind to really settle into this moment now, to be open and receptive to this safe and immersive journey that you are about to embark on. 2. Feel into your body one more time now. Your body has worked hard for you today. It's time to give it rest. And 1. Completely letting go now as I tell you tonight's sleep story. You are walking along the harbor in Alexandria, the city where the world gathers. The air is warm, but not stifling, carrying the tang of salt and a faint trace of spices. Beneath your feet, the stones of the street feel uneven but solid, worn smooth by the passage of generations. The smell of the sea mingles with something earthier. The wood of the docks, sun-dried and cracked, and the faint aroma of fish lingering from the early morning catch. The Mediterranean Sea stretches out before you, calm for now, its surface catching fragments of light from the pale morning sky. It laps gently at the sides of ships docked along the piers, each vessel distinct and beautiful in its own way. Some are wide and heavy, built to carry grain from Egypt's fields, while others are slender and sleek, with sails rolled tightly against their masts. Ropes creak against wood as they shift with the current, a subtle, almost musical sound. Close by, the harbor is alive with people. You hear their voices before you fully take them in. A mix of languages and tones, rising and falling in bursts. It is not chaotic. It is not loud, but constant. A murmur of human activity that fills the space like the hum of insects in a field. As you walk, you start to pick out individual sounds. A man's laugh, a child's chatter, the clipped commands of a sailor directing a crew. Ahead of you, Someone is unloading large clay jars from a cart. The jars are plain and sturdy, their surfaces dull with dust. The man lifts them carefully, his arms wrapped tightly around the rounded sides, and carries them toward the dock. His tunic is simple, off-white but stained with the marks of his trade, and his sandals scrape lightly against the stone. A young boy trails behind him, clutching the edge of the cart and watching everything with wide, curious eyes. You pause for a moment, letting the scene settle around you. This is a place of movement, of labor, of exchange. But it is also a place of rhythms, of patterns repeated over years and decades. You feel yourself being drawn into it, as though this great ancient city itself is inviting you to linger, to look more closely, to see not just a harbor and a city, but the lives being lived here, the humanity around every corner. The year is 240 BCE, and you are standing in the heart of the Ptolemaic kingdom, ruled by Pharaoh Ptolemy III. He is the third ruler of the dynasty, founded by Ptolemy I, a general of Alexander the Great, who claimed Egypt after the death of his commander nearly a century ago. Alexandria, this thriving city at the mouth of the Nile Delta, has become a beacon of culture and learning, a meeting point of Greek and Egyptian traditions, and the jewel of the Mediterranean world. The pyramids, ancient even in this time, stand far to the south, near Memphis and Giza. Their immense stones have weathered thousands of years, silent witnesses to dynasties long gone. They belong to another age, a time when pharaohs of the old kingdom ruled over an Egypt that was isolated and self-contained. Now, in the age of Alexandria, Egypt is a cosmopolitan land, its traditions mingling with the influences of Greece, Persia, and beyond. The city around you reflects this blending of worlds. Its layout is unlike anything else in Egypt, planned in the Greek style, with wide avenues and orderly grids. The grandest of these avenues runs from the royal palace near the sea to the great library, the center of knowledge and scholarship. You are close to this cultural heart of the city, where philosophers, scientists, and poets gather to exchange ideas. This is a time of expansion and ambition. Ptolemy III has recently returned from a campaign bringing back spoils and restoring sacred artifacts taken from Egypt centuries before. His reign is marked by prosperity, and Alexandria thrives under his rule. The lighthouse at Pharos, one of the tallest structures in the world, guides ships into the harbor, its beacon visible for miles. As you walk, the weight of time feels tangible. You are not in a distant land, ruled by gods and mysticism, but in a vibrant, living world where people trade, create, and dream, much as they do in your own time. Yet, there is something undeniably different about this place. An energy that speaks of discovery and connection. You are here in the age of Alexandria. You are lingering near the edge of the docks when a voice calls out to you, not sharp or insistent, but casual, as if addressing a familiar face. You turn and see a woman seated on a low crate, a woven basket resting beside her. She is middle-aged, her dark hair tied back with a simple cloth. Her skin is bronzed and weathered, her face lined, but there is something unhurried about her, as though she carries no weight but the moment she is in. She gestures to you with an open hand, inviting you to come closer. Don't stay in the sun too long, she says lightly, her Greek softened with the lilting tones of Egypt. She smiles as she speaks, her hands busy weaving reeds into the beginnings of a basket. The reeds are thin and damp, and as she works, small droplets of water fall to the stones below. She seems to take pleasure in the work, her fingers moving steadily, almost rhythmically. It can fool you here, the sun, she continues. It feels kind, but it leaves its mark. You step closer, and she looks up at you, studying your face, as though trying to place you. Then she waves a hand at the harbor behind her. This is your first time here, isn't it? She asks, though it sounds more like a statement. She doesn't wait for an answer. It's easy to tell. You stand like someone who's looking for something. She pauses her weaving and leans back slightly, as if considering what to say next. But let me tell you something. Everything you need is already here. She gestures at the docks, at the crates piled high with goods, at the people moving past. The world has been brought to this place. If you can't find it here, it doesn't exist. She tells you her name is Nasara, and that she has lived in Alexandria her whole life. I was born just a short walk from here, she says, pointing inland. My family still lives in the same house. Nothing special. Just walls and a roof. But it keeps the rain out when it comes. She chuckles softly, as if rain is more myth than reality. My husband fishes. My son works in the warehouses, and I make these. She holds up the beginnings of her basket. That's my life. It's not complicated, but it's good. As she speaks, her tone is steady, matter-of-fact, but there is a quiet pride in her words. People think you need more, she continues, but look around. These men unloading those jars, they have families to feed. The merchant arguing over the price of figs, he's not really angry. He just wants his fair share. We're all the same in the end. We work, we eat, we love. That's it. That's enough. For a moment, you simply listen, letting her words settle over you. There is a calmness in her, an ease that feels foreign and yet comforting. She speaks as though the world is not something to conquer, but something to live within, to accept. Do you see that ship? She asks, pointing to a wide, weathered vessel tied up at the pier. It came a long way. I heard they brought back books, scrolls. They say they'll take them to the library. You should go there if you have time. See what the scholars are learning. She shrugs. I don't need scrolls, but I like knowing they're there, that this city is alive with thinking, with dreaming. Nasara returns to her weaving, her hands moving steadily once more. You should keep walking, she says, not unkindly. See what you find. The city is full of surprises. She glances up at you one last time, her eyes soft but clear. But remember, don't look too hard. The best things find you when you aren't searching. You leave the harbor behind, stepping into the streets of Alexandria proper. The sounds of the docks fade slightly, replaced by the hum of the city. Footsteps on stone, the low murmur of conversation, the occasional bark of a street vendor calling out his wares. The air smells different here, less salty and more earthy, with hints of baking bread wafting from unseen ovens. As you walk, something catches your eye. A young boy crouched near the corner of a modest shop. A small dog sitting obediently by his side. The dog is short and wiry, its coat a patchwork of brown and white. and its tail wags lazily as the boy strokes its back. The boy looks about 8 years old, his tunic slightly too large for him, the hem brushing against the dusty ground. He holds a flat piece of bread in one hand, tearing off small bits to feed his companion. The dog sniffs each piece before taking it gently from his fingers, its ears perked with quiet attention. As you pass, the boy glances up and meets your gaze. His dark eyes are bright, his expression open, and for a moment he simply smiles before returning to his task. It's a simple scene, but there's something timeless in the bond between the two. A small act of care, freely given, that speaks of trust and companionship. Further along, you come across an older man seated on a low bench beneath the shade of a sycamore tree. He is bent slightly forward, his hands clasped around a wooden walking stick, polished smooth with age. Beside him, a girl stands, perhaps his granddaughter. Her black hair is tied back in 2 braids, and she holds a small clay cup in her hands. "Careful now," the man says, his voice deep and steady, speaking in Egyptian, a language unfamiliar to you, but full of warmth in its cadence. The girl carefully tilts the cup, helping him drink, her small hands steady against the rim. When he is finished, he pats her head lightly, murmuring something that makes her laugh. Her laugh is high and bright, carrying over the low hum of the street. She leans in close to him, saying something softly, and he nods, his weathered face creasing into a smile. It's a moment of connection, intimate yet universal, and it lingers with you as you walk on. Not far ahead, you notice a small market stall selling dates. The vendor, a woman with a brightly patterned headscarf, reaches out with both hands to help an older customer tie the rope around a basket brimming with fruit. The 2 women exchange a few words, their laughter mingling with the chatter of the street. The older woman places a hand briefly on the vendor's arm, a gesture of thanks, before hoisting the basket onto her hip and making her way back into the crowd. As you take in these small moments, these fragments of life, you feel an undeniable connection to the people of this city. Their gestures, their voices, their care for one another transcend the boundaries of time. Were it not for their tunics and headscarves, their handmade baskets and clay cups, this could be any street, in any city, in any time. There is something profoundly human in the way they move through the world, in their kindness, their quiet joys, their shared moments of understanding. Now you walk deeper into the city, and the air shifts once again. It's less bustling now, more tranquil. The narrow streets are lined with homes, their walls made of pale, sun-bleached limestone. Above you, balconies jut out, draped with cloth awnings to keep out the sun. You are admiring the craftsmanship of a carved wooden door when you hear a voice nearby, soft but clear. "Are you new to Alexandria?" the man asks. He is standing in the shaded doorway of a house, dressed in a flowing white chiton, its folds crisp and clean. His sandals are simple but well made, the leather polished. His face is open and friendly, with a short cropped beard that frames a warm smile. "You seem like a traveler," he continues, gesturing with one hand. "Would you like to step inside? The heat can be relentless at this time of day." Before you can respond, he opens the door wider, revealing a glimpse of the cool interior. "Come," he says, encouraging but not insistent. "A drink will help you on your way." There is something about his manner, unhurried, sincere, that makes you follow him inside. You are now in a real Alexandrian home from more than 2,000 years ago. The air within is cool and still, a welcome contrast to the warmth outside. The floor is made of polished limestone, smooth beneath your feet, and the walls are painted with simple but elegant designs. Geometric patterns in soft reds and blues. The house smells faintly of cedar wood, likely from the beams supporting the ceiling above. The main room is spacious, with low wooden couches arranged around a central table. The couches are covered in cushions, embroidered with intricate patterns, their colors still vibrant. The man gestures for you to sit on one of the couches as he pours a drink from an earthenware jug into a shallow, wide cup. It's date wine, he says, setting it before you. Sweet and refreshing. It will take the edge off the heat. He pours himself a cup as well, then settles onto a seat opposite you. The wine is light and fragrant, its sweetness balanced by a faint, earthy tang. You glance around the room, taking in the details. Along one wall, there is a large storage chest, carved with images of lotus flowers, its surface gleaming faintly in the dim light. Above it, a shelf holds a small collection of oil lamps, each one unique, some shaped like animals, others adorned with tiny, intricate figures. A bronze brazier stands in the corner, unlit but ready for use, its surface decorated with curling patterns that mimic vines. The man notices your interest and smiles. That brazier came from Memphis, he says. A gift from my brother. He has a talent for finding beautiful things. He pauses, then adds, but the real treasures of a home are the people in it. As if on cue, a young girl peeks out from a doorway at the far end of the room, her hair tied back with a ribbon. She hesitates for a moment, then steps forward, carrying a small clay jar. This is my daughter, Callista, he says. She's shy around new people. Callista sets the jar on the table and offers you a small smile before retreating. She's learning to make honey cakes, her father explains. Perhaps you'll stay long enough to try one. There is no urgency in his voice, only a genuine warmth that makes you feel entirely at ease. He leans back slightly, sipping his wine. Alexandria is a city of wonders, he says, almost as if to himself. But it's also a place of simple pleasures. A cool room, good wine, the laughter of children. These are the things that matter. He looks at you, his expression thoughtful. The rest, the noise, the ambition, even the knowledge, those are for the world outside. Here, it's different. Then, as you are still seated in the cool, inviting, and peaceful room, a woman enters. Her steps are quiet but purposeful, and the man looks up with an easy smile. "Ah, my wife," he says, his tone softening as he gestures toward her. "You've come to meet our guest." The woman approaches, her hands lightly clasped before her. Her dress, a flowing garment of soft linen, dyed in pale blue, moves gracefully as she walks. She wears a simple necklace of polished stone beads, and her dark hair is braided and wound into a modest knot at the back of her head. Her presence is calm yet welcoming, her expression open as she regards you. "Welcome to our home," she says, her Greek clear and measured, her voice carrying a warm undertone. "I hope my husband has been a gracious host." She glances at him with a faintly teasing smile, and he chuckles softly. "I have done my best, but you always host better than me," he replies, motioning for her to join him. She seats herself beside him on one of the low seats, smoothing the folds of her dress. Her gaze settles on you. "You've come a long way, I think," she says, not as a question, but as an observation. Travelers always carry a certain look in their eyes. Curiosity, perhaps, or something else. It's a gift to see new things, isn't it? She reaches for the jug of wine on the table and pours herself a cup, her movements unhurried and practiced. The conversation flows easily. She tells you her name is Thalia, and she speaks of her life with a quiet dignity. "We've lived here since we were married," she says, looking around the room. This house has seen many seasons. It's not grand, but it is ours. The city outside is full of noise and ambition, but here we have everything we need. She glances at her husband, and there is a brief, unspoken exchange between them. A look that speaks of trust, of partnership. As the conversation turns, Thalia shares more about their daily life. In the mornings, I tend the garden, she says. We grow herbs, some vegetables. It's small, but it's enough. And when the heat becomes too much, we stay inside, as we are now. She pauses, considering something. The city is many things. Grand, alive, full of learning. But at its heart, it is just a place where people live, like anywhere else. We rise, we work, we care for those we love. Her words carry no grand lessons, no lofty ideals, but there is a simplicity in them, a clarity that feels timeless. As she speaks, Callista reappears, carrying a tray with small honey cakes. She sets it down carefully, her eyes darting shyly toward you, before retreating once more. Thalia picks one up and offers it to you. These are her first attempt, she says with a smile. Be kind. The cake is small and delicate, its golden crust sticky to the touch. As you bite into it, the sweetness of honey fills your senses, rich, but not overwhelming. The warmth of the family surrounds you. A quiet harmony that feels utterly natural and safe. Stay as long as you like, Thalia says, her tone genuine. There's no rush here. No need to hurry back to the world outside. And so you sit for a while, in quiet meditation, enjoying feeling welcome, feeling the kindness of these strangers who lived thousands of years ago. and eventually you thank Thalia and her husband warmly. Their kind faces lingering in your mind as you step back out into the streets of Alexandria. The afternoon sun still hangs overhead, but the air feels heavier now, as if the city itself is slowing, preparing for the shift of weather. You walk without urgency, weaving through the narrow lanes, each turn offering something new to catch your eye. You can still hear the Mediterranean Sea in the distance, the distant hum of the marketplace is quieter here, replaced by the softer sounds of daily life. A wooden door creaking open, the scrape of a broom against stone, and the occasional clink of pottery as someone works unseen. It is as you round a corner that you notice him. He is older, his beard full and streaked with grey, and his robes are simple yet immaculate, dyed in a soft shade of ochre. He carries a scroll tucked under one arm and walks with a deliberate steadiness, as though he is unhurried but purposeful. His eyes catch yours, and for a moment he pauses, inclining his head slightly in greeting. "Ah," he says, his voice low and measured. "A fellow traveler, I think." His Greek is fluid, the kind of voice you could listen to without ever tiring of its cadence. "You have the look of someone who is searching for something. Perhaps you do not yet know what it is." He smiles gently and gestures ahead. "I am on my way to the library. Perhaps you would care to join me? It is a place where questions find answers, and where those who seek are rarely disappointed." You fall into step beside him, his presence calm but quietly commanding. As you walk, he continues to speak, his voice weaving the story of the library into the rhythm of your footsteps. It was Ptolemy the First, the general of Alexander the Great, who first dreamed of such a place, he says. A home for all the knowledge of the world. His son, Ptolemy II, began to make it real, gathering scrolls from every corner of the known lands. Greece, India, Persia, Egypt itself. He gestures to the street ahead, where the lanes are beginning to widen, the buildings growing larger, their facades adorned with columns and intricate carvings. They say the library holds hundreds of thousands of scrolls now, though no one knows the true number. Philosophy, mathematics, medicine, astronomy, all the thoughts and discoveries of humankind collected in one place. His tone is not a boastful one, but a reverent one, as though speaking of something sacred. The sky above darkens slightly, the sun dimming behind a blanket of grey. You feel the first cool drops of rain against your skin, light at first, but steady. The old man pauses briefly, glancing upward. A blessing, he says softly, pulling the scroll he carries closer to his chest. Even Alexandria needs the rain. The streets glisten as the rain begins to fall more steadily, the sound soft but insistent, like a distant drumbeat. You walk together beneath the changing sky, the air now cool and sharp, carrying with it the clean scent of water on stone. The city around you seems to take on a different tone, quieter, its movements gentler, as the rain dampens the noise of the day. As you approach the library, its grandeur begins to take shape in the distance. The wide steps leading up to it gleam with the wetness of the rain, and its columns rise high, reaching toward the heavy clouds. the old man slows his pace, as though allowing you to take in the sight. Here it is, he says softly, a place where the world comes to think, to question, and to dream. He places a hand lightly on your shoulder. Let us step inside. There is no better place to be than the library on a day like this. The rain falls softly as you begin to climb the wide stone steps leading up to the Library of Alexandria. The steps are worn in the middle, smoothed by the passage of countless feet over the years. Each one is made of pale limestone, quarried from the hills far to the south, its surface showing faint traces of fossilized shells. A reminder that this stone was once part of the sea itself. Water collects in shallow grooves along the edges, glinting faintly in the dim light of the overcast evening. The columns that rise before you are massive, carved from a lighter marble, imported from the islands of the Aegean. They stand in perfect symmetry, their fluted surfaces catching the rain as it slides down in thin, glistening lines. The entrance is framed by a wide portico, its roof supported by these columns, and above the doorway is a lintel inscribed with Greek letters. You can just make out the words as the man beside you gestures toward them. Dedicated to the Muses. His voice is reverent, as though even these simple words carry great weight. As you step through the threshold, the world outside seems to fade away. The air inside is cool and still, carrying a faint scent of papyrus and aged wood, mingled with the sharper tang of ink. The floor beneath your feet is made of polished stone tiles, their surfaces inlaid with patterns of geometric shapes, triangles, circles, and interlocking lines. The patterns seem to guide your gaze forward, deeper into the space. The interior of the library is vast, but not overwhelming. It feels both grand and inviting, the kind of place designed not to intimidate, but to inspire. Rows of tall shelves line the walls, their frames carved from local acacia wood. They are strong and fragrant. The shelves hold tightly rolled scrolls, their ends marked with small tags of parchment to identify their contents. Some are plain, while others are marked with symbols or seals, hinting at the treasures they contain. Above you, the ceiling rises high, its beams made from imported cedar wood, richly scented and durable. Small skylights are cut into the roof, allowing soft, diffused light to filter in. On this rainy day, the light is dimmer, casting the room in gentle shadow. Along the walls, bronze oil lamps are mounted on brackets, their flames steady and low, creating an intimate glow that feels both functional and calming. The light dances faintly across the marble and wood, giving the room a subtle warmth despite its size. The man walks ahead of you, his sandals making soft sounds against the stone floor. He gestures toward a group of scholars seated at low tables near the center of the room. They are bent over their work, writing with reeds dipped in ink or unrolling scrolls with practiced hands. The hum of quiet conversation fills the air, interspersed with the occasional scratch of pen on papyrus. Their voices are muted, respectful of the space, and their words carry a mixture of Greek and Egyptian tones. This place was built to hold the world's knowledge, the man says, his voice low, as though not to disturb the others. Every ship that comes into the harbor, every single one, is searched. If they carry scrolls, these scrolls are brought here, copies are made, and the originals are returned to their owners. Some call it bold, others call it theft. But here, nothing is lost. Here, it is preserved. He leads you further in, pointing out details as he walks. The walls you see are not just stone, he explains, running a hand lightly over their surface. They are layered. Limestone for strength, plastered with stucco to protect against the dampness of the sea air. The roof is designed to funnel rainwater into hidden cisterns, keeping the scrolls safe. His tone carries the pride of someone who loves this place, who understands its importance, not only to Alexandria, but to the world and to the future of humanity. You notice small alcoves along the walls where scribes sit, carefully copying scrolls onto fresh sheets of papyrus. Their movements are steady, precise, their focus unwavering. The sound of their pens moving is almost rhythmic, blending with the quiet murmur of voices and the faint crackle of the lamps. There is an order to everything here, a harmony that feels deliberate and safe, as though the library itself is a sanctuary from the chaos of the world outside. The man stops near one of the shelves, pulling out a scroll and holding it carefully in both hands. He does not unroll it, but simply looks at it for a moment before placing it back. There are things here you cannot find anywhere else, he says softly. Stories, discoveries, dreams, all preserved for those who come after us. It is not perfect. It may not last forever. But for now, it is enough. He turns to you, his expression thoughtful. This is a place for seekers, he says. And you, I think, are one of them. Come, let me show you more. The sound of the rain lingers faintly, a soft patter that seeps into the silence of the library. It seems to come from everywhere and nowhere, like a memory carried in the walls. The steady rhythm of the rain is soothing as it blends with the occasional rustle of a scroll being unrolled and the gentle murmurs of scholars. Though the space is vast, the warm glow of the oil lamps and the quiet hum of activity make it feel intimate. The man motions for you to follow him deeper into the library. Come, he says, his tone inviting. There is a place I want to show you. He leads you through a narrow passageway where the walls are lined with shelves that stretch high above your head. The faint scent of cedar and papyrus grows stronger here, mingling with the earthy tang of the rain-soaked air that filters in through unseen cracks and skylights. You emerge into a smaller, more private room. A low brazier sits at its center, the embers glowing softly and filling the space with gentle warmth. The walls are lined with shelves, but here they are lower, more accessible. The scrolls within reach. A small wooden table, worn smooth by years of use, sits beside a cushioned bench. The man gestures for you to sit, and As you settle into the bench, you feel the quiet comfort of the space, the glow of the brazier, the softness of the cushions, the muffled presence of the rain beyond the walls. The man selects a scroll from the nearby shelf, handling it with reverence. This, he says, as he carefully unrolls it, is a text attributed to Hesiod. It is called Works and Days. It was written long before this city was founded, but its lessons are timeless. Hesiod spoke of how to live a good life, how to work with the world rather than against it. He clears his throat softly and begins to read, his voice low and steady, the words carrying an ancient wisdom. First of all, consider the seasons and the sacred power that moves through them. Work when it is time to work. Rest when it is time to rest. Be mindful of the earth's rhythms, for they are wiser than the ambitions of men. Do not let your heart be ruled by envy, for envy devours the soul and blinds the mind. Instead, rejoice in the work of your own hands. However humble it may be, for it is through steady labor that the heart finds peace. Seek justice in your dealings, not for the sake of reward, but because it is right. A fair man sleeps soundly, even in the humblest of homes. But a man who gains through deceit will find no comfort, no matter how fine his bed. Take heed of moderation in all things, for excess blinds the soul and leaves a man adrift. To hoard riches is folly, for wealth unshared brings no joy and withers the spirit like a tree left untended. But neither should one waste what has been earned through honest toil. A wise man knows the balance, the middle way that leads to contentment. Be mindful of those you call friend, for good companions are a treasure greater than gold. Trust those who have proven themselves in small ways, for it is in the little deeds that character is known. A kind word, a helping hand, these are the markers of a friend whose presence will lift you in dark times. Avoid the company of the deceitful, for their laughter is hollow, and their promises like smoke carried on the wind. Remember the seasons of life, not only of the earth. Youth is a time of planting, of preparation, and if it is spent wisely, it lays the foundation for harvests yet to come. Age, though it slows the body, brings wisdom and reflection to those who have lived with purpose. Do not envy the fleeting vigor of the young. for their strength is a passing thing. Instead, cherish the lessons of the years and the peace that comes from a well-lived life. Sow your seeds in good soil and water them not only with rain, but with patience and care. It is the steady hand, not the hurried one, that reaps the greatest harvest. Beware the lure of idleness, for a man who does not work becomes as stagnant as water left to stand. Even in rest, let there be purpose, a moment to reflect, to plan, to dream. For it is dreams that guide us, but it is labor that turns them into reality. And when you sit at your table, whether it is rich with abundance or modest in its fare, do not forget to share. A meal shared brings greater nourishment than the finest feast eaten alone. Look to your neighbor, not with suspicion, but with an open hand, for kindness offered freely will return to you when you need it most. Live simply, not as one who seeks to master the world, but as one who understands their place within it. The stars above, the fields below, the rivers that flow between. They were here long before us and will remain long after. To live in harmony with these is the greatest wisdom of all. For a life lived in balance, in kindness, in purpose is a life well lived, and that is all the gods ask of us. The man's voice trails off, and he looks at you with an expression that is both serene and thoughtful. Hesiod's words are simple, he says, placing the scroll carefully back onto the shelf. But there is great power in simplicity. Perhaps it is the simplest truths that endure the longest. The man looks at you. His expression thoughtful. Hesiod believed in balance, he says, in finding harmony between the work of the hands and the work of the soul. It is a lesson that many forget, even in a place like this, where knowledge is prized above all else. But what good is knowledge if it does not bring peace to the heart? For a moment, there is silence. The room feels warm and safe. The words of the ancient poet, lingering like embers in the brazier's glow. Perhaps, he says softly, that is why you are here, not to find answers, but to remember the questions worth asking. The man looks at you again with a thoughtful expression, as if weighing something in his mind. Then he nods, as though coming to a decision. You've traveled far, and I can see you are someone who seeks not just knowledge, but the quiet it brings. There is a place for you here, among those who think and dream. Come, let me show you where you can rest for the night. He gestures for you to follow him again, leading you deeper into the great library. The rain continues its gentle patter outside, the sound now mingling with the steady crackle of oil lamps as you pass through a series of hallways. The air grows quieter with each step. The faint hum of conversation and rustling scrolls fading into a comforting stillness. You reach a small, arched doorway, its wooden frame polished smooth from years of use. The man pushes it open to reveal a chamber lit softly by the glow of a single bronze oil lamp resting on a low table. The room is simple, but there is a quiet elegance in its design. The walls are smooth limestone, cool and pale, with faint traces of painted patterns that have faded over time. A low bed sits against one wall, its frame made of sturdy acacia wood. It is covered with woven linens in earthy tones, their texture soft and inviting. Beside it, a small shelf holds a few scrolls neatly arranged, along with a reed pen and a small ink pot. A cushioned bench stands near the table, offering a space to sit and reflect. On the far side of the room, a narrow window is set high in the wall, allowing a faint, diffuse light to filter in during the day, and the sound of the rain to drift in now, soft and rhythmic. The man steps inside and places a hand lightly on the back of the bench. This is a scholar's chamber, he says, his voice low and steady. Simple but it has what you need. A place to think, to write, to rest. Many who have come here before you have spent nights in this very room. They came seeking answers, or perhaps only peace, just as you have. He takes a step back, letting you take in the space. The rain will keep you company tonight, he says, gesturing toward the window. And the library will keep you safe. In this place, you are among those who value what is eternal. Knowledge, understanding, and the quiet wisdom of the world. He places the oil lamp a little closer to the bed. Its warm light, casting gentle shadows on the walls. Sleep well, he says, his tone both kind and certain. Tomorrow, the library will still be here, waiting for you. With that, he inclines his head and steps out, leaving you alone in the quiet comfort of the chamber. You settle onto the bed, the linens soft beneath you. The distant sound of the rain is steady, a soothing rhythm that seems to echo the calm of the library. The air smells faintly of papyrus and cedar wood, and the glow of the lamp creates a gentle warmth that fills the room. You feel safe here, as though the wisdom of the ages is wrapped around you like a blanket, holding you in its care. As you close your eyes, the world of Alexandria begins to fade, replaced by the quiet promise of rest. Here, within these ancient walls, there is nothing to fear, nothing to want, only peace and the steady rhythm of the rain as it lulls you into sleep.